Welcome to Garage Gym Athlete Cool Downs. These episodes are short, actionable podcasts pulled from previous interviews and content we've been publishing for the last several years. So go for a walk, hop on the rower, or clip into the bike for this cool down episode. Okay, so I guess another question about that would be athletes in general. How would you feel, or how do you feel, having seen all that data, how do you feel athletes prioritize sleep without some sort of education behind it?
Yeah, I mean, in our study, we found that about 25% were in that moderate to severe category. So 25% of these Canadian national team athletes were needing further intervention from a sleep specialist. Around 75% were more needed that education, and really, I think linking it to performance is an important thing with an athlete. Is how can me getting better sleep, how will that impact my performance? And the studies have shown, I mean, with sleep extension, so those who get more sleep, for weeks on end, and maybe leading into a competition, perform better. So they have faster reaction times, they have faster sprint times. There was a study in collegiate basketball players where they found that they had better shooting percentage. In football players, they found they shaved 0.1 seconds off their 40-yard dash time. So we are really seeing improvements in performance with the better sleep. So I think linking it to performance is really important, and then giving them tools to get better sleep. So potentially having a bedtime routine and what should be included in that, or incorporating a daily nap is really important for athletes. So there's different tools and tricks that we can give them in order to get better sleep, get better quantity, quality, and timing of sleep, and then hopefully lead to better performance.
And now you're mentioning like a lot of metrics between, how quickly you follow sleep latency, and, we could get into sleep cycles and everything else. But before we do that, I would like to know, you can't know any of that stuff without some sort of reading, right? Or some sort of tech, whether you're going into a professional and having a sleep study done, or some sort of a wearable or something like that. What do you recommend for people who want to analyze their sleep? I mean, there's so many options. Are they reliable? Should we trust our phones or some sort of device? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm not a huge fan of the wearables at this point. I mean, I think there's some work to be done in that area, and I think they're improving, but they can really do damage too. I mean, there was one study that found that it was a Fitbit at the time, and I know Fitbit has improved their version since this time, but they found that it overestimated sleep by an hour.
Wow.
And that's huge. I mean, if I'm going to sleep and I'm waking up and it's telling me I'm getting 7 hours when I'm really getting 6, that's not a good thing. And I think it can overinflate the amount of sleep that we're actually getting, but it can also overestimate as well. So I think we're getting there. The one that I'm really intrigued about, and I think was validated with polysomnography, which is the gold standard, what I was doing when I visited my aunt's sleep lab, is the Oura Ring. Seems to be kind of promising and has been validated with polysomnography. But we do have to be careful as to how we're going to interpret that information. So if the wearable is giving us false information, and let's say it's potentially underestimating our sleep, that could potentially affect my performance. So for example, if it's saying I got 6 hours of sleep when I really got 7, I'm going to think, oh man, I only got 6 hours. It's saying that my quality is really poor. Oh man, I'm going to be sluggish today. It's going to impact my performance. So I think we have to take it with a grain of salt. And for me, I don't use a wearable whatsoever. I just kind of gauge, I kind of have a set bedtime that I try and aim for, and then try and wake up naturally, which is kind of hard to do with kids.
Right.
But if I'm not, let's say I go to bed late, which happens, I mean, life happens. I can't get, 7 hours of sleep every single night. Then I try and make up for that across the week. So I'll try and take a nap potentially maybe that day, or maybe sleep in the next day, or try and go to bed early. So I think using the information wisely, but I think even just kind of having a set bedtime and awake time and adjusting your sleep pattern across the week, if you don't meet those standards, can be really useful.
Yeah, I do think that, that subjective data when you just wake up is such a good, like taking inventory. Like that really to me is the best, because I've done, I have wearables and I've tried all this different stuff, but some days it could be like, oh yeah, you're perfect, ready to go. I'm like, I don't feel like that. And then I've had other times where it's like, no, that was a horrible night. And I'm like, well, I feel great, and so it can really, like you said, that subjective data I think is really important. And I've even played different wearables against each other, and I've wore 2 different ones one night to just test. Cause like I don't know, the where I should be looking for, you kind of like you said, gold standard of sleep. And one of them was like, well, you got 2 hours and 45 minutes of deep sleep, and the other one said I got like 13 minutes of deep sleep, and I'm like, well, I don't know. That's like a huge discrepancy. So yeah, it is hard to trust. I'm glad that you said the Oura Ring is something that we should be looking into, because I have the founder of the Oura Ring. He's coming on the podcast here in a few weeks, so that'll be interesting to get his take on that. So yeah,
awesome.
That's great information to know, and for all of us out there to kind of be aware. I do think that subjective measure is so important.
Yeah, I mean, you even look at, there was a study with on-call. So they brought participants into the lab. They told them, all right, you're going to be on call tonight, so you can go to sleep normally, and this phone will wake you up if you get a call or whatever. And they didn't actually wake the participants up with the phone, but just telling them that they're on call influenced the quality of their sleep. So I think mindset is really powerful when it comes to sleep and sleep quality and your performance throughout the day.
I couldn't agree more. I just recently had to travel, and I had to wake up super early. I had to be up at like 3 a.m. to be able to make it to the airport on time. And because I set my alarm for that, I went to bed as early as I could to try and get as much sleep as possible, because I do prioritize sleep very heavily in my weekly routine. But I didn't sleep well. I kept waking up like every other hour because I was afraid I was going to miss that alarm. It's just in the back of your mind that like, I was like, that's pretty early. Like, I don't know if I'll actually wake up for it. Thanks for listening to today's Cool Down. If for some ridiculous reason you are not subscribed to Garage Gym Athlete programming, fix that problem right now. Go to GarageGymAthlete.com, sign up for a free trial, get started with us today. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to today's Cool Down. If for some ridiculous reason you are not subscribed to Garage Gym Athlete programming, fix that problem right now. Go to GarageGymAthlete.com, sign up for a free trial, get started with us today. Thanks for listening.